Unit 5, about Lucifer. How did he become Satan? Okay, so now we're in Unit 5. We're going to talk about Lucifer. In the previous unit, we talked about the angels, right? And we conjectured a little bit that the angels witnessed creation. God created the heavenly realms first. He created the angels, and that they witnessed the creation. Don't know that for sure, but if it's true, among them was this angel that is talked about throughout Scripture, Lucifer, who we know becomes Satan. And so in this unit, what we want to do is really ask the question, how did he become Satan? And we get a clue in Isaiah 14. So in Isaiah 14, the context, obviously, that Isaiah is a prophet of the Old Testament that God called near the very end of the reign of Judah after Israel had been split in two, and right before Judah was going to be destroyed and overtaken by Babylon. And so Isaiah is a prophet to the king of Babylon, and so he's prophesying, right? And in Isaiah 14, however, it's interesting because all of a sudden he stops prophesying to the king of Babylon and actually begins to address his prophecy to Lucifer, which seems kind of interesting and out of context almost. But what we learn from it actually fits really nicely with what we know about our timeline. So look at what it says in Isaiah 14:12. It says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning." So if you're reading right through it, you're like, wait, hold on. Why would he say this? But what he says here helps us understand our main question of this unit, which is how did he become Satan? Like what was going on in his heart? Because we know the angels are intelligent beings who have their own free will and can make their own choices. And what it says here, it says, "How you have fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning. How you are cut down to the ground, you who weakened the nations." It says, "For you have said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit on the mount of the congregation on the farthest sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet you shall be brought down to the pit, to Sheol." God would be saying to him, right? To the lowest depths of the pit. So we know from this verse, if this is true about Lucifer, what he wanted was worship. He wanted to be like the Most High. He wanted to be treated like the angels treated God if they were there when they witnessed the creation account, when they shouted for joy, like it mentioned in Job. So if we go back to our timeline here, we know that here we've got God creating angels, God creating the earth, and we've got the rebellion in heaven. Well, that's not complete, right? There's the piece missing. So we know that before there was a rebellion, we see Lucifer who witnesses the creation, and in doing so, if Isaiah is truly talking about Lucifer, which I think he is, that's when sin, envy, and pride entered into his heart. And that's really the original sin. We talk about Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden being the original sin, and really it wasn't. It was Lucifer wanting what is only due to God. And so he witnesses the creation, but even him witnessing the creation and his heart filling with pride doesn't automatically mean there's a rebellion. Something else has to happen even before that can happen, right? And what that is, that's where Lucifer turns other angels against God, right? So his sin somehow, and we don't know much about this, right? But if this is true, his spreads to other angels, and that's how they become demons. And even in Revelation, we get clues to this story as well. We know that a third of all of the angels that God had created chose to abandon their post in the same way that Lucifer had, and to follow Lucifer, right? We get this number from this verse in Revelation 12:4, where it's obviously metaphorical language, right? He's talking about his tail and stars and things like that. But the full context is clearly talking about Lucifer and the angels. It says his tail drew a third of the stars of the heaven and threw them down to earth. So we know that demons today are those who are angels by design, but who left their design and chose to follow Lucifer. So Lucifer, he turns other angels against God, and that's when we have the rebellion in heaven, where some angels turn against God, and in doing so, they are cast to the earth. Now, God is still using them. God doesn't obliterate them. He is now going to use them to fulfill his ultimate purposes. And we know that Satan and demons they're mentioned all throughout the Bible. This is not a small mention of some obscure verse. We see this all over the place. And so it's important for us to understand, get a view of who Satan is as we go along in our timeline, in our story. So what are some things that the Bible mentions about who Satan is? Well, these are some things that it says. It says that he is the head of the demons. Satan is the accuser, right? And this is not a comprehensive list. It's just a couple things. He's also a liar, right? Jesus calls him the father of lies. We know that he is the originator of sin. He was actually the one who committed the first sin. The word Satan actually means adversary. He's also called the evil one. And we know that he's wanting both power and worship. We see this in his interactions with Jesus too, in the wilderness, right, where he wants him to bow down to him. So Satan is a created being, is a beautiful one. We learn in other parts of the Bible who he has rebelled against his design and he has left. And so therefore, asking a similar question of demons, what are demons? Well, demons are basically angelic beings who have abandoned their original master, God, and their original purpose to worship God and chosen to follow Lucifer instead of God. So that's what a demon is. And demons now there have been cast out of heaven and they're now here on earth. And so that's a whole different discussion for another time. But I have a question because this is going to really play into some of our next sessions, and that is this one. Why are Satan and the demons so passionately against us? Because we know that they are passionately against us, but why? And so knowing the answer to this question is going to help us really understand some of the motives and some of the foundations as we get into the biblical storyline. So in our next unit, to answer this question, why are Satan and the demons so against us? We're going to talk about mankind. We have to talk about mankind because what we learn when we study mankind is going to give us clues into understanding why Satan and the demons are so against us. So in the next unit, Unit 6, about mankind, we're going to talk about why mankind is the pinnacle of God's creation and how that plays into everything that we've talked about so far.